A lone cottonwood tree stood in the middle of a sea of sand, and beneath its shade, 7 ropes swayed gently in the midday sunday. At first, Cole thought they were the corpses of some outlaw gang strung up as a warning. But as he came closer, the sweat on his back turned ice cold. They were 7 Apache girls hanged. Their necks were tightly bound, feet dangling above the ground. Tiny scratch marks in the sand below showed they had fought desperately against death. But what made Cole freeze was not the sight itself. It was the faint sound of breathing. He rushed forward, touching the girls' arms. There was still a flicker of life. All 7 were still alive, just unconscious from being hung for too long. Cole cut the ropes one by one, pulling each girl down onto the scorching sand. A strong gust of wind knocked their limp bodies over like torn sacks. He laid them side by side, doing his best to keep their airways clear. Then suddenly, a trembling hand grabbed the front of his shirt. A hoarse, broken voice. "Brackett! They are coming back." Cole lifted his head and looked around. The footprints were fresh. The ashes from the fire still smoldered. Wagon wheel tracks stretched out in a line, not yet erased by the wind. Brackett's gang had not gone far. And clearly they had no idea the girls were still alive. In that moment, Cole knew he stood at a crossroads. He could walk away and pretend he had seen nothing, or he could save these 7 and throw himself into a war with all of Arizona under Brackett's heel. He exhaled hard and placed his hand on the grip of his revolver. The choice was as clear as day. "All right," Cole said softly. "I am not letting anyone hang the innocent on this land." And from that moment on, the fate of the 7 Apache warrior girls was bound to the fate of one white marshal who had just stumbled upon the gates of hell. Cole set up a makeshift tent under the shade of the cottonwood tree. Shielding the 7 Apache girls from the blazing sun so they could breathe easier, he divided the last of his water into chipped wooden bowls, giving each of them a share while trying to stop the bleeding around their necks where the ropes had cut deep. One of the girls suddenly jolted upright like she had just escaped a nightmare. She stared at Cole with weary eyes. Her hands instinctively searching for a weapon, though it was clear she had none left. Cole raised both hands. "Easy. I am not Brackett." That name made all 7 girls open their eyes at once as if thunder had just called them awake. The oldest girl, the one Cole figured was the eldest sister, was the first to sit up. Her voice was but firm. "You cut the ropes. You saved us, but do not get too close." Cole sat a few steps away, leaving enough space for them to feel safe. "What happened? Who hanged you?" The entire tent fell into silence. Then finally, the eldest spoke. "Brackett did not want to kill us. He wanted something far worse." Cole frowned. "Gold, silver, mustaches for ransom." She shook her head. "No, Brackett wants the hide map. The real one. The map every Apache has sworn to protect with their life." The other girls whispered in their own language, short, fast, and filled with fear. Cole could not understand all of it, but the weight of it was clear. The eldest continued, "This map does not lead to gold. It is not the kind of treasure white men dream of. It marks every underground water source within hundreds of miles, and the locations of silver veins never claimed. Whoever owns it controls all of Arizona." Cole froze. Something like that was not just valuable, it was dangerous enough to start a war between tribes and miners alike. Her voice dropped like a curse being spoken. "Brackett caught someone from the tribe. He tortured him for the location of the map. That man never gave in. So we were taken instead." Cole asked. "So did you tell him?" The eldest looked him straight in the eyes. Without a moment's pause. "We would rather hang." The words landed like a cold blade in the air. Cole took a deep breath. "Then I need to get you somewhere safe before he comes back." But all 7 shook their heads at once, not with fear, not with hesitation. The eldest declared, "We are not going anywhere. We will find Brackett first." Cole slapped his thigh in frustration, furious at their recklessness. "You were nearly hanged to death, and now you want to chase down a gang big enough to be an army? She answered with a voice as cold as the desert stone. They are not a gang. They are the ones who killed our families. In that moment, Cole understood. These girls were not victims. They were 7 Apache arrows waiting to strike at the heart of their enemy. Cole thought that after nearly being hanged to death, the most natural thing any human being would do was run, hide, or at the very least, beg for protection. But the 7 Apache girls in front of him were the exact opposite. They sat up one by one slowly but steadily. They were still weak, but in their eyes there was no fear, no fragility, only something smoldering, like embers at the bottom of a fire pit. Cole opened his water pouch and offered them careful sips. 7 dark eyes looked at him wary, but not hostile. The eldest Shah was the first to take the water. She drank exactly 3 mouthfuls and handed it back, even though her throat was clearly burning. Why not finish it? Cole asked. You need water to stay alive. Shia answered. Demons like Brackett can only be killed by the living. The words were so cruel and calm that Cole had no idea how to respond. The moment broke when Talon, one of the girls, suddenly dropped to her knees in the sand and touched a footprint near the tree. She leaned in, gave it a quick sniff, then signaled the others. Mean, Raleigh, and Yuta immediately spread out, scanning the area as if they had just woken from a nap, not survived a hanging. Cole watched his mouth dry. What are you doing? Shia answered curtly. Tracking in this condition. Cole was stunned. Shia raised an eyebrow. We have been in worse condition and survived. Then she pointed to the patch of ground west of the tree. Brackett left 3 men behind to cover the trail. They went toward Painted Gorge. Cole glanced around. He saw nothing. No clear footprints, but the 7 girls were reading the land like a story written in sand. Raleigh suddenly turned back and spoke in a voice sharp as an arrow. The one in the rear injured his right leg. Heavy step. We will catch them. Cole frowned. I never said I was letting you join the Chaws. Shah cut him off. You cannot hunt Brackett alone. He already hangs 7 of us. You think he would hesitate to hang one more marshal? The words were blunt, but the truth in them was thick enough to taste. Cole stood there for a few seconds, weighing right and wrong, and life and death. In the end, he exhaled and tightened his grip on the revolver at his hip. All right, he said. If you have decided not to run, then I am going with you. Shia, she turned to the others, raised her hand in signal. Today we hunt. And just minutes after escaping death by hanging, the 7 Apache girls were on their feet, tightening their laces, tying up their hair, and moving like shadows. No complaints, not a single weak breath. Cole watched them, these warrior women, drifting past like the night wind before a storm. And for the first time in his life, he realized he was not leading them. He was following an army born to hunt. The trail leading out from the hanging ground cut straight through a field of jagged rocks, then disappeared behind a stretch of blood-red canyon walls. The 7 Apache warrior women moved in formation, each in her place. Cole brought up the rear, keeping watch, trying to understand how they read the world around them. Yuta stopped first. She crouched low, touching a shallow hoof print in the dirt. Without a word, she tilted her chin to the right. Shia translated for Cole. 3 men, 1 horse carrying 2. That horse is heavier than normal. Cole looked down. He could only see faint scuffs where the wind had blurred the sand. You can tell all that from this, he asked. Shia's voice was flat. Brackett does not do the interrogating himself. He brings someone else. Who? Cole asked. The answer did not come from Shia. It came from Selena standing a few paces away. Reaching beneath a cactus to pick something up. She held it to the light. A small piece of metal no larger than a finger. A badge fragment shaped like a star. Its edge had been ripped, violently torn from someone's shirt. A chill crept down Cole's spine. It was a piece of a sheriff's badge. A gust of wind whistled through the canyon, followed by a sharp whistle from Raleigh, her signal for danger. The group immediately melted into the shadows of the rocks, dropping low to observe. Below in the canyon floor, deep wagon ruts cut through the soft earth. And right between those tracks was a boot print Cole would never mistake. High-cut boots, steel-toed, nailed soles. Only one man in the entire region wore them. Sheriff Dorian Hale of Red Mesa. Cole swallowed hard. Hale, he's involved in this. Shia did not answer. She muttered something in Apache low, cold, and heavy enough to squeeze the air from the canyon. Marine stepped over and handed Cole a torn scrap of fabric. The smell of town tobacco clung to it, strong and unmistakable. A brand only Hale smoked. Talon's voice was clenched tight. He is not just involved. Shaw looked at Cole, her eyes holding something deeper than hatred, something that could burn down a village. She said, Hale is not Brackett's ally. He is his guide. Cole felt his stomach twist. Hale is a sheriff. His job is to protect the town. Shia's words cut through the air like blades. He is protecting himself and the hide map at any cost. Selena stepped beside Cole and pointed north. Brackett is not far ahead, but Hale is waiting at Painted Gorge. Cole looked at the other 6 girls, their eyes screaming silently, held back only by the iron discipline of warriors. Finally, Shia said the one thing Cole was not ready to hear. Sheriff Hale is our blood uncle. The words, blood uncle, hit Cole like a hammer to the chest. The air in the canyon grew thick. These 7 Apache girls were not just chasing an enemy. They were hunting a man whose blood had once mixed with theirs, pressed into the palms of their hands when they were children. This hunt had become a reckoning. I truly appreciate you being here. If this story brought back something inside you, memories of dusty afternoons and hoof beatouts echoing through your chest, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so each day we can sit down together and I'll tell you another tale from the Old West. The wind howling through Painted Gorge sounded like voices moaning from the depths of the earth. Cole stood still and the 7 Apache girls were so motionless they looked more like stone statues than living people. The name Dorian Hale had landed among them like an axe splitting a tree rotten at its core. Cole looked at Shia. Uncle? You mean blood uncle? Shaw did not answer. She simply stepped to the nearest rock, sat down, and laced her fingers together as if trying to hold on to a memory before it slipped away. The others gathered around her silently, forming a quiet circle. The air shifted heavy, cold, like the sun had been shut out. At last, Shia began to speak slow, steady, but each word carried the weight of the desert. You asked why we do not run. She looked up. Because we cannot forget that night. Cole said nothing. He listened. 7 years ago, Hale was on the run from the patrols. He came to our village asking for shelter. Apache people do not turn away a traveler. We gave him water, corn cakes, a place to sleep. He smiled at us, taught us the white man's words. Shia gave a faint laugh, a sound with no warmth in it. That night, there was no moon, only the sound of hooves in the distance. We thought it was merchants passing through. But then her voice dropped like it was being pulled down by the hands of death. Brackett's gang came. No warning. They slashed, burned, strangled the children while our eyes were still adjusting to the smoke. Yuta clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. Talon closed her eyes, her lips trembling. The first to fall was my mother, Shia said. Hale held her by the arm, demanding the map. She spat in his face. He ended her with his own hands. Cole felt his spine go numb. Another man held down my father. Shaw's voice cracked. Brackett asked about the map. My father stayed silent. They threw him into the fire to make him talk. Selena whispered into the wind. We heard our father screaming until he could not scream anymore. Raleigh said, they hung the children, smashed the heads of the elders, tore open the sacred tents. Shia continued, each word like the edge of a blade. 50 Apache people died in one night. Not because of war, because of the hide map. Cole felt his chest tighten. So, how did you survive? He asked. She pointed to the canyon behind them. I pulled my 6 sisters into that crack when the fires broke out. I heard every scream of our people. I saw Hale standing beside Brackett. And I swore. She looked at Cole, her eyes glowing like embers still burning. That one day he would have to see us. Before he died, no one spoke. Only the silence of the desert and the vow of 7 souls who had their family stolen from them. Cole gripped his revolver tighter. Now he understood this hunt they were on was not to stop a gang of thieves. It was to end the curse born on a night soaked in blood. The sky began to burn a copper-red hue as the 7 Apache warrior women along with Cole entered Devil's Gorge, a rugged canyon with walls as sheer as twin blades. This was a place even USCA Valerie avoided because if an ambush was set at the right spot, anyone down below was as good as dead. She stood at the entrance, her eyes scanning the sharp ledges above. Hale wants to lead us in here, she said. Cole lowered his voice. You are sure, sir? Shy plight. This is where he used to practice ambush tactics with my father. That sentence hit Cole like an arrow to the gut. Hale had not just betrayed them. He was using Apache tactics, the very ones he had learned through family bonds to destroy his own blood. They stepped into the canyon. Just minutes in, Raleigh froze, raising a hand to halt the group. She picked up a small pebble, placed it on the flat of her knife, and let it drop gently. It bounced to the left instead of falling straight. Yacht noted. Someone's above us. Cole drew his revolver, pressing against the canyon wall. How many? Talon answered. At least 6, maybe 10. The wind howled through the gorge. A long ghostly moan like the breath of a demon. Then the sound of metal clinking echoed from the cliffs above. Shia gripped the handle of her bone knife. They are about to fire. At that instant, a burst of gunfire cracked overhead. Bullets rained down like steel hail, kicking up sand and stone. Cole yanked Noeva down just in time. A bullet grazed his shoulder, burning like fire. Move! Shia shouted, but they did not scatter blindly. The 7 girls split off with precision, each darting toward a crevice or rock ledge they had clearly marked earlier. Cole realized they had seen the trap long before stepping into it. Silena climbed upward, her body pressed tight against the rock like a mountain cat. Yuta threw a rock across the canyon wall, the echo confusing the ambushers. Raleigh slithered beneath the boulders, weaving through gaps like a desert snake. Cole fired back, barely aiming just enough to keep heads down. Then a scream from above. One of the ambushers fell, a blade driven through his chest. Talon appeared right behind him, her face smeared with red dust, breathing hard. She had scaled the cliff while bullets rained all around her. Raleigh yanked Cole to the left. This way, he ducked just in time. And a bullet slammed into the rock where his head had been a second before. Shia gave a short whistle. At once, the 7 warriors regrouped and launched a counterattack, not by climbing up, but by striking from below. Yuta lit a bundle of dry grass and hurled it over the ledge. Black smoke surged upward, choking the shooters. Marine hurled a spear that caught a man clean, dragging him from his perch. Within minutes, the ambush fell apart. The survivors fled from the ridge like wolves driven from their den. Cole gasped for breath, sweat and blood mixing with the dust. They are not Brackett's men, he said. Cheyenne'd it. They are Hale's. Silence returned to the gorge. But this silence was not peace. It was the echo of a terrible truth. Hale knew they were coming. He knew they were alive.